when we conclude any MOUs, they shall not be hidden, they shall be made available to the relevant committees of Parliament. And as I said, Madam Speaker, is that one of the things we are also planning to do, to bring for Parliament, is a sessional paper to have our members deliberate and guide appropriately on Kenya's foreign policy, foreign and diaspora policy. Because all along, this has been confined to the executive, documents are confined to the executive. We want, for the first time, a comprehensive discussion on Kenya's foreign policy and some of these issues. I'm sure we will benefit, that document will benefit immensely, or will be enriched immensely from the wisdom of Parliament. The second thing that I want to emphasize is that these recruitments have been largely private sector driven. They have not been government driven, but the government will not entertain an ethnic driven arrangement when getting people opportunities outside the country. Madam Speaker, some issues are historical, and we all know them. For instance, and my brother, the senator, is very vast in this. He knows that if you went to Minnesota today in the United States, because of historical purposes, we are likely to find a certain inclination of Kenyans, because there are those who broke the ground in that area, and they tend to then invite more and more to come. If you went to LA and Atlanta, you'll also find a similar pattern. So there are some aspects that were there because the pioneering Kenyans who went there earlier laid the ground for a number of other Kenyans to join them. So it is not a deliberate policy of government to pursue that. But also on the websites of the State Department for Diaspora, we are able to indicate the licensed recruitment agencies, because in the past we have had cases where the Senator is right that unscrupulous people have taken advantage and landed our Kenyan people in very difficult situations. So we're trying to streamline this, and in between, let me also just notify the Senate that we are also improving on our negotiation on what you call the labor or employment agreements with various countries, and we are making them much better, much more refined, so that the safeguards can be provided for our Kenyans. And the classic example now is in Germany, where we are just about to conclude an agreement of labor framework or employment framework, and we are refining with those that relate to the Gulf and other states. All the agencies that are registered are available on the NEA website, that is the National Employment Agency website. And this information is also shared with the GAO. This is how we cascade it through the county commissioners all the way, so that this information is available at the district and county offices as well. But one thing that remains is that through this National Employment Agency, there are regulations, and we are trying to weed out all the entities that do not fit the bill, that are not fit for purpose. So this is an ongoing process, and we are also ready to receive any further ideas on how we can tighten the noose around the bad elements from this House and other Kenyans. I wish to state that indeed these 19 agreements are work in progress, and they're at various stages because they're bilateral, so you are ending up negotiating with different countries. But we have some, for instance, Germany, we are likely to be able to conclude by September. And indeed, not too long ago, the German parliament has now passed a bill basically affirming this policy, where they'll be able to take many migrants, and Kenya was trying to secure a slot to have close to 200,000 slots in different areas to be able to go and work in Germany. And I wish to state that we are not, these negotiations are not just about what we call laborers. We have a skills policy that is being worked on, so that we can have even doctors, we can have other technicians, teachers and other people who are qualified and skilled in different areas to be able to also benefit from this arrangement. In the case of the United Arab Emirates, for instance, we have more or less concluded a CEPA. This is a comprehensive economic partnership agreement, and part of the issues that we are alluding to are also now embedded in that agreement. So there is progress, but I would like to assure the members that each country has its own issues, and we try to navigate on a bilateral basis with those individual countries. And but we're making good progress, and we will try to accelerate where possible. Thank you, Madam Speaker. 19 MOUs are being negotiated as we speak. We are quite advanced with Qatar, United Arab Emirates, Saudi, and we have a few rescue centers. We have a rescue center in Saudi Arabia, and the other one, Madam Speaker, is that we are looking for resources, and this is a conversation we've had with the budget committees to be of Parliament to be able to obtain resources so that we can put up more rescue centers. That is one of the biggest challenges that we face. But once we have sufficient resources, we shall roll out a few rescue centers. Has actually eliminated 700, so far, 700 rogue agencies from the register who are associated with not handling the labor issues professionally. The other thing that I would say is that when these Kenyans get challenges, the embassy has always been available to provide emergency travel documents to assist them so that they can travel back to Kenya and move away from the hostile environment. And we continue to do so. And in fact, the Saudi Arabia Center is perhaps the most active in issuing emergency travel documents or certificates for Kenyans in case their passports and documents have been held. The final point I would just like to say on this one is that the unfortunate side is that sometimes it's the fewer cases, bad cases, that tend to cloud the actual picture. But in reality, 90% of the workers, particularly the ladies, when they come to Kenya for a short break, they go back to the same venue. So the mistreatment, and we are not downplaying it, but we are trying to rein in so that that mistreatment can come to an end. And these are the areas that we want to refine as we negotiate our bilateral agreements. Thank you, Madam Speaker. Yes, we are aware of the case of Stephen Bertrand Monako, who was incarcerated on on a case of manslaughter in Riyadh, and I wish to state that a few weeks ago I did write officially to the Foreign Minister of Saudi Arabia, intervening that this individual should not be executed. That execution was deferred. It did not take place. I also had the opportunity to meet the family of the mother of Stephen Monako, and we had a conversation. And the challenge that is there is that there is a proposal that is being mooted by the family of the person who died, that they be compensated to the tune of 150 million, equivalent of 150 million Kenyan shillings. Madam Speaker, the family has raised about 10 million shillings, and they continue to try and raise more money, because this is what they call the blood money, some financial settlement for that. And clearly, it would be remiss of me not to notify the nation and Parliament is that there is no budgetary provision for the government to settle this kind of situation, whether in Saudi or any other country. But the ministry and the government is doing what it can to see if this matter can be resolved differently, and perhaps if the family that lost their individual can perhaps climb down from the high level of 150 million Kenyan shillings so that this case can be resolved. So it is work in progress, it's a conversation that is ongoing. There are thousands of Kenyans in the Gulf countries, and I will tabulate the data that we have. We have in total over 400,000 Kenyans in the Gulf states, and I'll tabulate as follows. In Saudi Arabia, the records we have are there are 310,266 Kenyans. In Qatar, 66,025. United Arab Emirates, 23,000. Bahrain, 8,000. Oman, 5,392. Kuwait, 3,515. Iran, 200. Iraq, 150. The total record we have as of to date is 416,548. Madam Speaker, I wish to further state as follows. Kenyans in these territories exhibit high movement between various Gulf states. The numbers given therefore constitute periodic statistics derived from our missions in these countries, further corroborated through official sources of the host governments. It should be noted that not all Kenyans register with our missions abroad. The second question was to do with how many Kenyans have lost their lives working in the Gulf states from 2002 to date. The records we have show that the total number of Kenyans who have lost their lives in the Gulf region is 316. The breakdown is as follows. Saudi Arabia, 166. Qatar, 58. United Arab Emirates, 51. Iraq, 25. Bahrain, 10. Kuwait 6, Oman 0, Iran 0. The total 316. Aspect C of the question: what support does the government provide to families of Kenyans who die overseas? And could I provide details on Mildred? Madam Speaker, upon receiving a report on the death of a Kenyan abroad, the first step that our missions do is to notify the family of the demise of their loved one. The ministry does this by liaising with the employer, the foreign recruitment agent, if they're foreign based, and the local recruitment agent based in Kenya to establish information about the deceased and next of kin. 2, the ministry also has a robust counseling department that offers psychological support to family members, including managing of the information, assessment, counseling, preparation for travel for a family representative or family member, and coordination with family members to receive the body of the deceased. The ministry also establishes the migration status of the deceased where possible, coordinates with the employer, the government agencies, diaspora groupings, other stakeholders of the family, while ensuring that the body of the deceased is well preserved ahead of repatriation back home. The ministry also follows up on the benefits and entitlements of the deceased person from their place of work in accordance with the applicable laws of the host country. 5th, the mission facilitates obtaining of a post-mortem report to establish the cause of death and provides necessary documentation to facilitate the repatriation of the body back home. This includes issuing a no objection certification for the body to be transported to Kenya. The ministry also facilitates administrative procedures, including police investigations, if any, and the settlement of hospital and medical bills as appropriate. The ministry also coordinates with the deceased family on the arrival at the arrival port and date and facilitate to receiving of the body. Where the deceased is not employed or out of immigration status, the embassy liaises with the ministry to inform the family to enable them to make necessary arrangements, including sending a representative or a family member to facilitate repatriation of the body back home. Madam Speaker, there are limited resources available in terms of government support and facilitation for actual payment of bills of the deceased, as well as repatriation of mortal remains. However, in extreme cases and on a case-by-case basis, the ministry has invoked such support for extremely needy cases. For instance, in the case of Albania, there was medical evacuation, there was the death of an athlete in Mexico, and a student in Finland, where the ministry had to bear the costs. In many other cases, the ministry works and mobilizes the diaspora through associations to raise the necessary funds to facilitate repatriation.